Every empire tells two stories, one carved in stone, of conquest, power, and ambition, and another, whispered through time, of philosophy, virtue, and truth. Rome told both. It was the greatest empire the world had ever seen, but behind its armies, temples, and law stood something greater, a philosophy that once guided how humans thought about duty, meaning, and the self. And yet, that wisdom vanished. The empire fell, and the philosophy that could have saved it died with it. Today, we're asking, why did the Roman mind, once the most disciplined in history, lose its wisdom? And what can we learn before our own civilization forgets the same truth? 1. The birth of a Roman philosophy. Rome didn't invent philosophy, it inherited it. From the Greeks came logic, ethics, and metaphysics. But Rome did something new. It turned philosophy into duty. Greek philosophy asked, "What is truth?" Roman philosophy asked, "How should I live?" For the Romans, wisdom was not an idea, it was a way of life. Cicero, Rome's great orator and philosopher, wrote that philosophy is the art of living well. To a Roman, virtue meant discipline. Wisdom was not about knowing the good, but doing the good. This is why Stoicism, born from the Greek Zeno, became Rome's guiding light. Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, these were not scholars in quiet rooms. They were men of the world, senators, slaves, emperors. They believed that philosophy must survive the battlefield, the court, and the throne. For nearly 2 centuries, Stoicism became the moral spine of Rome, a philosophy of endurance, humility, and duty. It was wisdom with armor. But over time, something changed. Rome began to love power more than purpose, and when ambition replaced virtue, philosophy began to die. To Seneca and the shadow of power, Seneca the Younger, advisor to Emperor Nero, was one of the last true philosophers of the Roman mind. He believed in reason, restraint, and balance, yet served one of history's most unrestrained rulers. It's a haunting contradiction, a Stoic preaching self-control, living beside a man consumed by ego. Seneca once wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." But Nero's Rome was the opposite, an empire addicted to luxury, spectacle, and excess. Philosophy became decoration, not devotion. Seneca tried to guide Nero toward reason, but even his own writings were shadowed by hypocrisy. He grew rich under a corrupt ruler. He preached virtue while surrounded by vice. His death, ordered by Nero, became the death of something deeper, Rome's conscience. Because when the philosopher must die for speaking truth, the civilization that kills him is already collapsing from within. 3. The empire of distraction. By the 2nd century, Rome had everything: wealth, order, spectacle, but had forgotten why it existed. The philosopher's voice was replaced by the crowd's roar. The Colosseum became Rome's temple, and bread and games replaced purpose and reflection. Juvenal, a Roman poet, mocked his own people for this. Give them bread and circuses, and they will never revolt. The Roman mind, once disciplined and curious, had become addicted to distraction. Today we scroll, then they cheered. Different tools, same emptiness. Both serve the same God, amnesia, the forgetting of what truly matters. As the philosopher's lamp dimmed, superstition and vanity filled the vacuum. Wisdom gave way to entertainment. Virtue gave way to indulgence. And Rome, once the world's teacher, became its warning. 4. Marcus Aurelius, the last philosopher king. In the twilight of the empire, one man tried to rekindle its soul. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who didn't want to be emperor. His Meditations, written not for the world but for himself, remains one of the most intimate philosophical works ever written. He ruled armies, governed millions, yet his greatest battles were inward. He wrote, Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. In that single line lives the last breath of Roman wisdom, a reminder that philosophy was never meant to stay in books. It was meant to live in us. Marcus Aurelius carried the weight of an empire on his shoulders, yet every night he reminded himself that titles meant nothing. He knew that death comes for emperors and peasants alike, and that the only true empire is mastery over the self. But after his death came chaos. His son Commodus ruled not with reason, but vanity. The Stoic flame that guided Rome for centuries was extinguished by ego. 5. Why wisdom died with empire. So why did Roman wisdom die? It wasn't conquest, it wasn't Christianity, it wasn't the barbarians, it was forgetfulness. Rome forgot the difference between intelligence and wisdom. It built aqueducts and armies, but lost its moral compass. It perfected law, but ignored justice. It conquered nations, but could not conquer itself. When the empire became too powerful to question, it became too weak to endure. Philosophy needs humility to survive, and humility cannot live in a palace of pride. The Roman mind, once guided by reason, was consumed by luxury, dogma, and politics. Philosophy no longer served the people, it served the powerful. And when wisdom becomes the servant of ambition, it stops being wisdom at all. 6. The aftermath. When Rome fell, its roads crumbled, but its words did not. The writings of Seneca, Cicero, and Marcus Aurelius were hidden, copied, and carried through monasteries and scholars for centuries. It would take 1,000 years before the Renaissance rediscovered them, and when it did, civilization was reborn. That's the power of philosophy. Even when buried under ruins, it waits patiently for minds ready to listen again. But even today, we are not so different from late Rome. We have technology, comfort, and power. But do we have wisdom? We are surrounded by noise, but crave meaning. We chase attention, but lose reflection. We glorify intellect, but neglect character. Our empire is digital, and our philosophers are drowned in algorithms. The Roman mind died once. It can die again, this time in silence. 7. The modern parallel. Today, philosophy is often seen as outdated, too slow for a world that moves at the speed of data, but that's exactly why we need it more than ever. Rome's fall wasn't a failure of strength, it was a failure of wisdom, a failure of leadership grounded in virtue, a failure of citizens who traded responsibility for entertainment. And we, too, stand at the edge of our own empire. When we value comfort over character and spectacle over truth, we repeat the Roman mistake. But the story doesn't have to end that way, because the wisdom that once guided the Roman mind is still here. In words written 2,000 years ago, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. Confucius. Man conquers the world by conquering himself. Seneca. They all point to the same truth. The real fall of Rome was not the loss of cities, but the loss of the self. And the same empire rises and falls within each of us, every day. Conclusion. Rome built an empire that spanned continents, but its greatest creation was not its architecture, nor its armies. It was its philosophy. The idea that wisdom is not knowledge, but a way of being. That greatness without virtue is decay. And that civilization survives not through conquest, but through conscience. When Rome lost that, its stones began to crack. And if we forget it again, so will ours. Because wisdom doesn't die all at once. It fades, whisper by whisper, until silence takes its place. And all that remains of the greatest empire the world ever built is the echo of a lost mind. Subscribe to Timeless Questions channel to receive more thought-provoking content about philosophy, human nature, and the mysteries of existence. because the questions may be ancient, but the wisdom is timeless.